Imagine this. You have some teenagers you're taking out for the evening. There's a real mix of them, but one thing in common. Their brain is going through an overhaul. Professor Lawrence Steinberg, an expert on adolescent development, describes the teenage brain as a car with a good accelerator and a weak brake. The accelerator is on before the brake is ready. Let's look at why. The first growth spurt for the brain is before the age of 3 years. The second growth spurt is in the teenage years. You see, the teenage brain is trying to prepare itself to behave as an adult, but is also experiencing a time of chaos and change. Some of the most noticeable changes are in moods, language, sleep, and being disorganized. This may also explain why some teenagers find decision-making difficult. Loud, funny, risk-taking, and at times being unreasonable, this is all part of the process of brain development teenagers are going through. In this time, the control of speech and reading of facial expressions is moved from the reasoning part of the brain to the amygdala. The amygdala part of the brain is very reactive to danger and produces more gut reactions. So teenagers simply don't think the way they used to, nor do they read facial expressions as well as they used to either. But don't worry, this doesn't last. But it means in these teenage years that misunderstandings are much more common. Their reactions can be a little more impulsive and defensive, so it's best to talk to them more and not rely on facial expressions for your communication. Maybe give them more attention, maybe when they're looking stressed or worried. Help them work through emotions with containment and reciprocity. So you're with the group of teenagers for an evening out. What do you observe? Lots of risk-taking and them really caring what their mates think of them. Taking risks in their teenage years is a normal part of their life. It's part of growing up to be an adult. We've all seen it. They want to go faster on their bikes, experiment with fashion, or even impress their mates. See, research has shown that teenagers are capable of logical thinking and estimating risks. However, because the connections between different parts of their brain are not yet complete, they can be slower than us at estimating risk. Remember, we said the brake in the car is slower than the accelerator. In this time, they are more likely to try new things. At times, this means stepping out of their comfort zones and doing something different. It's risky, but rewarding, and it builds their brains. It's developmentally helpful, even if a little scary for those around them. Parents, teachers, other adults, and mature friends all act as co-drivers as teenagers learn to drive their brains in these formative years. Let's look at some research. Teenagers' brains are wired to take more risks, especially when they are with their friends. They often worry more about what their friends think of them, even if their friends are not with them. Professor Lawrence Steinberg set up an experiment. Teenagers and adults played a video game where they had to decide to stop at an amber traffic light or drive right through it. So half the time they played on their own, and half of the time they were told that two friends were watching. When their friends were watching, they were 40% more likely to go through an amber light and 60% more likely to crash than adults doing the same test. Their driving in the game got more risky as their friends watched. See, this experiment vividly shows that teenagers make risky decisions when they are with their peer group. But why? What has this got to do with the brain? In the presence of friends, the use of the reward bit of the brain, remember the amygdala, well, this increases. And the use of the thinking part of the brain, the prefrontal cortex, decreases. See, teenagers are rewarded by the good opinions of their peers. It's just like the social media likes and positive comments. Their friends build around them an instant reward system. The reward part of the brain increases and the thinking part of their brain decreases. So, you're home after a lively evening, out with your teenagers. What now? What can we as adults do to support them? Well, we can be there. We can be ready to provide for them both a safe place to soundboard their feelings and ideas and to provide answers. As parents and professionals, we become their coaches. They're safe spaces for them to drive their brains through the roads of teenage life.